Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. Please hit that subscribe button while you're hanging around. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover some new ones as well. All the usual places that you can grab podcasts, as well as right here on YouTube. New interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Kyle Meredith. Today, my guest, Nickelback. Going to be talking with Chad and Ryan about their new record, Get Rollin. It's their 10th album. They've been doing this since the late mid-90s, and they've rolled around, no pun intended, or maybe intended, to album number 10. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about what it means to make 10 albums at this point in your career, how you keep the fire burning inside of a band to stay creative in new ways. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about time travel and nostalgia. We're going to talk about if rock can be dangerous, if it ever was dangerous. Can it still be dangerous? That's all in here, and a whole lot more. So without further ado, let's jump into this. We're talking Get Rollin. It's Kyle Meredith with Nickelback. So first off, brand new record, Get Rollin. This is what? This is album number 10 from you all? Is that did I read that right? Is this the big 10th
That's
album?
what they're telling us. They're telling us this is album 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's nice that when you don't keep up with the numbers yourself. But that's not nothing. I mean, we hear a lot, there's sort of cliche lines like bands are like marriages or whatever, but I mean, 10 albums and what, 25, 26 years. I mean, that's a long marriage. I don't mean this as a joke question, but how do you all keep the flames burning? How is the creativity still there? Like, what are you doing when you go into a new record at this point? I'll throw that to whoever wants it.
It's just kind of whatever strikes you. Sometimes the songs, I was going to say almost write themselves, but they write themselves after you know the direction they're going. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But for instance, I screamed this line, I just barked out, loving you is like surfing on a tidal wave. And it was like, whoa. And then, but if you just sit back and listen to that for a second and think about it, you pretty much know where you're going to go with the song. You do. I do. Anyway, it means that right now in that relationship, things are really exciting. They feel like almost a little bit dangerous. You're teetering on the brink of success and failure within the relationship, but no matter what, that it's sooner or later, it's going to come crashing down. So you're just loving the moment that you're in. So that's what that means to me. So then we just had to write that. So it was almost like as soon as that line got spit out, we just knew where we were going with it. And I think generally it's like that. Like you wouldn't say a line like that and then suddenly write something really political. So
unless you're in love with a political party, then maybe
unless you're just truly
politics do feel like
politics
feel like a tidal wave sometimes, so I can get behind that.
Yeah. Well, that feels like a concept album, and we're not quite ready for that. So let's we can keep it alive other ways. So no, it's like we always want to get together. We always want to do we find common ground on certain things. I mean, like there's other things that we'll come up with ideas and maybe it doesn't work for the band. Maybe it's better somewhere else. But if it does, and if you can always still find common ground on things, then I don't know, it's got to be fun to keep doing it. And it is. So it can be that easy. You still want to be here, right?
And sometimes it's not even about like creating something new in this time frame, in this time period, I should say. Because sometimes we go back over what I refer to as the vault, and we'll pick out ideas that like were started 12, 14 years ago and just sort of blow the dust off it and be like, hey, remember this little jam? Let's work on this. And away we go. And so that happens sometimes too. That happened once with this record, with a song called Just Haven't Even Know You're Missing. I've been sitting on that for, I think, since 2007, actually. So, and that was fun to resurrect that idea and to see it actually come to fruition.
It's
It's
interesting.
funny. It's
Oh,
one
go
of
on.
those. Sorry, I was gonna say it's one of those kind of businesses where you can have things like from like 15 years ago and like bring this out. Oh, hey, maybe this still works. It's like you can't do that in like the tech sector. I've got this idea, this handheld communication device. Do you think we should work on it, Brain? No, that's timed out. Music, you can keep little pockets of things here and there, and you still kind of bring them up. So
Yeah. Well, that's what I say,
in case you didn't know.
yeah, it's something, but like in a similar vein, like I don't know, with a song like that, if in that time in 2007 you might have been writing that about a specific person, especially with a line like that, but even if so, like I would think, like, it's been over, a decade, and so 15 years or whatever, like you'd have to separate yourself at least a little bit, like that might have been about someone, but now it's not about anybody.
True.
It wasn't about anybody in particular. In 2007, it was just about loving someone so much and falling for someone so hard that you make that comparison that they must have just recently fallen for. Like it's almost like a cheesy pickup line that I try to turn into a lovely little melodic number.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really about anyone, like I said, in particular, not specifically, but it was more about that feeling of, that when you just enter a relationship and maybe you're, I don't know, maybe a month in, and as we all refer to as the honeymoon phase, and you start imagining yourself with this person for a really long time. It's like, wow, this feels so good. That's really what the song's kind of about.
Yeah. I like that the pickup line is still sort of imprinted there, though, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many of those stupid lines where it's like, hey, where's that little tag on your shirt? And they're like, which one? The one that says made in heaven. Like really cheesy, dumb stuff like that. But when I spit out the line, when I was coming up with the melody, I was like, oh, I know where we're going in. And again, it was that same sort of thing of like, now we know the direction. Now I just need to paint this picture.
You all then, thinking like in comparing, especially when you first become a band, a lot of it is about calling out your influences. You're still trying to find your sound. But what I'm getting to, as we talk about being 10 albums in and 25 years and all that stuff, like you know yourselves at this point, hopefully very well. But do you still find yourself reaching for those moments? I mean, are there still like musical icons you're like, okay, we should try something like that? Like, are those there on this album?
I don't think, 10 albums in, we're looking around going, oh, we should make this sound like someone else. I mean, no matter what, it could be the most, as I look behind you, it could be the most REM song ever. And the second I start singing on it, it's going to be a Nickelback song, no matter what. So we don't really look around to be like, oh, we should make this sound, but we should like chase down this sort of sound like that they did, because we're just always trying to sound like ourselves. Well, not that we have a choice, but for me at least, it's like, let's do something interesting that makes me, I know that if everybody leaves the studio and I stay for another hour and just keep the thing on 10, like ear splitting level, and it's still giving me the feels, this is an excellent direction to go in.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, right off the bat, it's you've got moods and sounds. You all have moods and sounds all through the record, but hearing you all talk about leading up to this, like, oh, want to do something heavy, like it's heavy. San Quentin, I mean, Chad, I feel like that's one of your heaviest vocals. Talk about like ear splitting. I mean, that feels heavy.
Yeah, I would say This Means War or The Betrayal would be, I mean, The Betrayal and This Means War is just, that's full out metal.
Mm-hmm.
It's, this one just feels like a hard rock song. But since it starts off in such an aggressive nature, and I think that was what we teased the internet with. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Nickelback's gone so heavy." And it's like, no, we haven't. We're just doing the same. You know, it's we've done far heavier in the past, but you know, I'll let anybody spin the narrative however they want. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the fact that I do like the fact that some people were like, you know, this is like the heaviest. This is the heaviest thing I've heard from them, and I'm like, really? Okay, that's an opportunity. Check out this Nickelback heavy playlist. So we put out actually playlists, but Nickelback a heavy side and Nickelback lighter side, and then I think we've got Nickelback other side, which is kind of like B-sides and possible forgotten ones of, you know, that we've had over the years too. But it just me, which I think it's a bit odd when, like Chad said, when they kind of spin that narrative, because I like it. We like it. We're a rock band. This is how we are live too. But I find that it's like an opportunity for people to go back. Well, they've got other heavier songs. Oh, really? Oh, go check them out. Like, seriously, go check them out. There's lots back there.
Yeah.
But because, you know, we're a rock band first and foremost, so I'm flattered by it.
Yeah, I think some of it is even just, you know, comparing not in your catalog, but almost to the time and space that we're in. It used to be every day we would hear heavy music in popular music, and I'm not one of those rock is dead guys. It's dumb, but you know, in popular music, I do feel like I hear it less and less. So when I hear something like San Quentin come across, it's like, oh, this is heavy. This is, you know, a bit more abrasive than the other stuff that I've heard today. But,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It's almost like we've been talking about this. You kind of live through the cycle, and it's obviously cyclical in a sense, because things get saturated in your own ears as to like what I want to listen to today or this month, and you gravitate to whatever is happening. And sometimes it gets too much, overwhelming, or the ear starts to look for something different. And I just don't think it was really ready. That the masses were really back to the rock. I know you're saying about the rock is dead thing and that sentiment, but I think it for sure faded for a while. But with the newer generation coming back, all of a sudden rediscovering rock bands and old rock bands, because it's been pop and hip hop driven, which has had some great music as well. You know, everybody kind of has their moment, and then they kind of look back, look for something else. And I think that's kind of what's happening now. And you're right, it's not probably really prevalent on the radio at a larger scale, you know, niche stations and whatnot. But it's nice that it's coming back into the well, I don't know if you want to call it the zeitgeist, but in the actual public space, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Do you think there's a spot where, you know, when I was growing up, I mean, rock did feel dangerous. In a song like this, it feels a bit. It is reminding me of them. I mean, do you think that rock can still be dangerous?
Two Live Crew felt dangerous when I was growing up. It's like,
fair point.
That was like that was the only thing that really ever felt really dangerous to me. Like if you were in a buddy's car and we were driving up and down Main Street in Hannah, our little tiny town of 2,900 people, which was a mile long, and had 2 stop signs at the time. If the windows were down, and because everybody knew everybody in that town, and you rolled up to a stop sign, you looked over, it's like, dude, that's my mom, turn it down.
Yep.
You know, that music felt really, really dangerous. I don't know how dangerous I don't know how dangerous rock music ever felt to me.
Well, I'll say this, because I'll agree, and you know, it wasn't so much Two Live Crew, but I do remember feeling like that with the first time my friend passed me Too Short on a CD or cassette. But at the same time, you know, when I put in, I remember being 14, 15, whatever it was, when like Super Unknown came out, and that record scared me. Like, it may be because I was a country kid too, but I don't know. I thought it was. I thought rock, you know, it did feel it's, and then it got tame again. But I don't know if it's still there, because you're right. You know, there is a new generation coming up, and they seem to be wearing the right clothes, doing the right moves.
It's interesting. Like dangerous in a sense where rebellious in a way. When we grew up, I think metal was for us. Like if I played Megadeth or Anthrax to anybody outside of who enjoyed that, it was loud and intense and fast and noisy and just aggressive, really aggressive.
I think the length of our hair, I think the length of anybody's hair was far more dangerous than anything else. Because if you found yourself in a country bar somewhere, you know, and your hair was down to your tits, you just get your ass kicked quick. So that was far more dangerous to me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like, but if you had something like, I was just talking about this, how I vividly remember. I was talking with my dad the other day about this. But I vividly remember when rock woke me up out of like what I was normally listening to, or it felt like it was like a bit dangerous. Was I remember listening to the first time that some kid, a couple of years older than me. It's always the way it is. This kid, a couple of years older, was, "Hey kid, check this out." It wasn't drugs. It was AC/DC. "You Shook Me All Night Long," and I'm like, I knew what it was about. I'm like, "You can sing about that." And I'm like, and the music was just intense and just, you know, just basic heavy rock and roll.
You have the same look on your face when you walk in and you see some of the lyrics that are up on the big screen TV that I'm
writing. No, it's worse. Like, it's worse. God. That's too much. You know, when you paint your walls like, you know, cream, and then sometimes you come in and it's like bright yellow with blue polka dots. I'm like, yeah, that's too much. That's too much. I get it, but it's too much.
It's fun. This seems like an easy seg, by the way, as we need to get back to the record. We were just talking about those days because here we are, you know, you guys going back in there in the 80s and early 90s, but you really indulged that nostalgic muscle for that one right there. I mean, like, how much do you all allow yourself in a song like that to go, it's time to get in the time machine. It's time to go back there.
Right? We tried. It doesn't work.
Again, right back to the first line that came out was, "Remember when the streetlights came on and we had to be home?" And everyone went, "Yep." Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, I think that should be the first line of the song. And then we should just keep going. Remember when, remember when, remember when. And then just talk about all the things. And then the song pretty much writes itself after that. Once you know where you're going, then we just have to try and come up with, you know, clever things that fit within those parameters.
Yeah, I think when you came up with the Elm Street line, that's when we were like, okay, I think we need to go down like specifically to be like an 80s thing, because that's we're children of the 80s for sure. And it just felt good. I don't know. I've got really great memories of back then, and obviously it's been kind of, you know, lately it's been back in the media again. Obviously, Stranger Things is really great with that. But we put this together a little over a year ago, and it was just fun going through all of those moments. And you're like, you don't want to do, like, we've done the photograph reminiscing kind of song, but it's like, this is specifically to bring back some of those 80s kind of feels, because we internally talk about it a lot. It's such a good time growing up with bikes and skateboards, and God, you know, that's when home video or VHS players came. So we watched movies constantly.
What about Beta? Let's not forget Beta.
Beta is superior to VHS by far. Yeah, I lost a lot of money in that, by the way.
It was so weird.
It's a sore spot.
But back in the day, like, do you remember the little video rental place on Main Street? The where you either went to the right or to the left, because half the store was Beta, the other half was all VHS. And so you were like, that right there was, what kind of family are you? Are you the VHS family or are you the Beta family?
Yeah, those suckers, hey.
Yeah. I knew one person in all of the little town that I was from in Kentucky, Litchfield, that only one person that had Beta. Like, it just didn't reach us. It was VHS from the beginning. So that's right. You know, Beta was 8-track. It was sort of there and gone, you know.
Right.
And the machines were way heavier than the VHS ones, so I didn't want to carry those machines home. Did you guys have to rent the machines? We had to rent machines. Yeah. And the tapes. I remember that a long time ago.
I did that with the game consoles. We did rent the game consoles.
That's one thing that we were talking about. Remember, we wanted to put that in the lyric video, the whole
Beta
Please Be
versus
Kind,
VHS.
Rewind.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. The Blockbuster thing. Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
so many of those things that just don't even exist anymore. And that's why, we did want them to be defunct, and we kind of wanted them to be something that's just really not around him. Like, remember every prank call we made in Star 69? Like those things just start like, this is not around anymore. You don't need Star 69 because we all just like, as soon as your phone just goes, it just tells you who's calling. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a Gen X checklist. This song.
it's a Gen X checklist. There you go.
Yeah.
That's
But
great.
the chorus made, like, the chorus is supposed to be for like any time frame, because that's basically what it is. I mean, anybody can relate to the chorus. That's the beauty of that.
Yeah.
Well, honest question here. You all are very successful. You might live comfortable lives, but we're all subject to that nostalgia. Would you go back if you could?
Wait, do I get to know what I know now?
I would like to say yes, because I want that game too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Without hesitation. Oh,
If I could go and come back, maybe, yeah. I'm always torn about that. I'm unfortunately a firm believer in you can never go home. You can never really go home, unfortunately. And it's like, do I want to ruin that? I don't know, because I got great memories of it. Probably though. Yeah, let's try it. Why not? Let's ruin it.
I would. But that's the whole thing. But you have to know what you know now. That's the only way it really works.
Would you do it?
I would do it in a heartbeat 1,000,000 times over. I've got nothing to lose here, guys. I'm not a multi-platinum, rock band.
But I think that's the power.
Are you going back with stock information? Is that what you're doing? You want to go back? Listen,
nice.
Biff, you can't do that.
No.
Don't take the almanac.
Games like. No. Everybody who won the Super Bowl, everybody who won the Stanley Cup, you got to know all that stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think that's the power of nostalgia. You ask anybody who's got a wife and kids and a job they don't like right now. I was referring to the job they don't like.
Damn kids.
And ask them if they could go back. Everybody who's telling that story on the bar stool at the end of the bar about, scoring the winning touchdown in high school, and they tell the same story every time they get drunk with their buddies. That's the power of nostalgia. Everybody wants to go back. Everybody wants to get in the time machine and go back to that time in their lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why songs like Those Days are important, because that's as close as we're going to get to that time machine is having your brain go, oh, I miss those days. God, I miss that. And I think that's why when we started going down that road, we all got the feeling, once we all get the butterflies in the stomach, like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. That's what keeps us going back. That's what keeps the fire alive.
Yeah. Nicely done as we wrap back around to the beginning of that. Well timed anyway. Just in time too. No, music is the ultimate time machine. I appreciate always time traveling through the songs. I can go back to hearing, Leader of Men the first time with you guys too. But congrats on the new record with Get Rollin, guys. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time, man.
All right.
Good talking to you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.